What up? What up? Welcome to the Keep It Going podcast. My guy Doc is a real dude sitting with real people having real conversations. Now make sure you subscribe so that you can get notifications every Tuesday. Now let's chop it up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another segment of Keeping It Goines. And guys, we have a very serious topic to discuss today, and the title of it is called The Whole Drug Scene. There are so many things out there now, guys, and honestly, I am very green on this topic of what are the new drugs and how they're impacting people, how they're getting these drugs, and there's just a litany of things to talk about. So what I decided to do is to assemble the Marvel Avengers. And so with us, guys, of course, we got our peace officer expert. This is Officer Brandee. We have a first-time guest on the couch, Dr. Amir. So good to have you here, sir. And, of course, this is my man, Brandee. And guys, I don't want to waste any time. I want to get right into this thing. When it comes to drugs, there's so many things out there to choose from. And I thought what I want to do is I want to deal with a couple of, I want to do like a quick little game to kind of get us started, right? It's a quick little game. And this is just fact or fiction, fact or fiction. Now, Dr. Amir, you're going to help me judge that the game between those two is going to be fact or fiction, and you're going to tell us, is it a fact or is that fiction? Okay. Y'all ready?
Let's go.
Yeah. So Randy and Brandee, marijuana kills brain cells. Fact or fiction?
Fact.
Fact?
Fiction.
So actually, I would say they're both a little bit right.
Okay.
Because it won't, it's pretty interesting. So we know that it damages brain cells. And if you damage brain cells, that can lead to cell death.
Okay, hold on one sec. Is his mic good now? Okay. No. Now, he said that yes and no. Give us the answer again.
Right. So they're both right because we know that marijuana can damage nerve cells and brain cells. And when you damage nerve cells, they're more likely to die. So if you smoke enough of it and you damage the cell enough, then you could have some brain cell death. And at the same time, depending on which receptors are hit and what's called the endocannabinoid system, which is really complex. I'm not.
He just speaking tongues.
Yeah. It's a whole pathway with a bunch of receptors and things. So depending on what you're taking and what strain, it can have different effects. But definitely when you're smoking and you're getting a lot of the toxins with it too, and doing maybe more than you should, you can have some damage to the brain.
So define being high.
Well, it's really the THC that causes that high effect.
Uh-huh.
And depending on what receptors you hit, it can affect your memory, it can affect your focus, it could affect pain tolerance, a lot of different things. So it affects your mood, of course, which is how you get the high.
So being high don't necessarily mean that I lost some brain cells.
Correct.
Okay. True or false? There is 0% nicotine in vapes. Vapes are safe.
False.
Are vapes safe?
I would say they're both correct. It's false.
Okay, wait a minute.
So vapes, even the e-cigarettes that are supposed to help you wean off of cigarettes, the problem is they still have some toxic elements to it, some volatile compounds. They're still going to cause inflammation, irritation in your lungs, and can cause lung disease.
Whoa. So which is safer, a vape or cigarettes?
Well, really, you don't know what's even in the vape, so it's kind of hard to tell. You could have like a very light cigarette that might be better than the worst vape, with even where the flavors have all types of carcinogens in it, right?
Right.
You really had to run something through a machine and see what's in it. But I would probably lean toward vapes. Just because I think most cigarettes have a lot of tar and a lot of carcinogens.
Okay. True or false, guys? Drug addicts are skinny.
False.
They're both right.
Okay. Next. Once a drug addict, and you're going to appreciate this one. Once a drug addict, always a drug addict.
True. I don't know. I'll say true.
So I would say there are people that have become sober, but it's definitely not easy. So I do know some people that have quit cold turkey, and that is not easy. Something has to happen. And actually, when it comes to opiates, there's actually something called ultra rapid opiate detox. A lot
Yeah,
of people
baby,
don't
what's
know.
that?
So imagine if somebody is addicted to opiates, we can actually let them withdraw under anesthesia, which can almost kill you, which is why you're under anesthesia. And when they wake up, they can be they're not addicted to the opiates anymore as far as like a body craving, but there's still a psychological component where if you're not treating that psychological component down the road, they may relapse. So they can get rid of the physical dependency. That's only one part of addiction.
Yeah.
And there's the mental. So you have to treat both. And that's why almost everybody
Wow.
has a chance of relapsing because of that. And that's why it seems like a lot of times once an addict, always an addict.
And
but
that's right up your alley. You know, so what do
Not
you
that
guys tell
I do
patients?
drugs, but so
Now, he works at a mental facility.
well, what we tell patients is if you're going through that, you have to change your environment. You have to. That's very important because drug addicts, believe it or not, they work off of timing, and they take pills and things off of timing. It could be a certain time during the day that they take it. They might take it when they, over dinner, because you have some functioning addicts too, where you would
Right.
never know that they're doing it. You know what I mean? So, people that come into the facility, they that's addicted. When they leave, they have to change everything.
So I've literally from cocaine users and who are also cigarette smokers, they said it was 10 times easier to get off cocaine than put down a cigarette.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think the nicotine is just so addictive.
Yeah.
It is even this, just doing this, right?
Yes, because they give like a wooden, a fake cigarette to kind of wean them off of the habit of having a cigarette in their hand. Yeah.
And I have seen people go ballistic if you take their cigarettes away from them.
Yeah.
Like fighting, tearing stuff up, have to restrain them and everything.
And so, which leads me to our police officer here. When you come to certain calls, are you guys trained to recognize a person on drugs? And I heard these things that if a person is on a certain drug, they're like 5 times stronger. That's a real thing.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you better.
Doc, how can you be stronger high? I mean, are you literally stronger, or is this
PCP?
Yeah, a PCP, cocaine. I mean, I trained in Miami for anesthesia, and we see a lot of crazy things. And I remember one case, I don't know if everyone wants to hear this, but this guy literally, he was so high on cocaine. I mean, my attending at the time was like, look, you're going to probably have to give him twice the medicine to put him down. And I didn't really believe him at first. No, we just do it based on the body weight, right? That's what I did all day and all last month.
Wow.
So I gave him the normal dose. He's just staring at me. He's so revved up.
So what is PCP? I mean, so wait, people still do you smoke PCP or you?
In the southern sector of Dallas.
So you smoke it or
So
what
they
is
dip.
PCP?
Some people dip like blunts in PCP.
They call it
and
wet.
soak it. Yeah, they call it wet. So that's big in the southern
So
sector
I heard.
of Dallas. Yeah, that's in the southern sector of Dallas. Then they had they call them wet sticks. So you can even have a cigarette dip. I mean, you can dip whatever. It's like comes in a little vial like this.
And people, I've never met a PCP seller. Like people literally sell PCP on the street
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the wet form, or is it
So
something you got to heat up?
you can buy a stick or you can buy the vial.
Wow, that's intriguing to me. I want to hear, Dr. Amir, in brief, you have a very personal experience with drug abuse. Can you mind sharing that with us?
Right. So it's been a few years. So that's why I can actually talk about it now. But for the first 2.5 years, I really didn't want to talk about it. But, I had my littlest brother. He became somewhat addicted to OxyContin and opiates.
Wow.
And he was using it as a way to de-stress from life. And but then he was sober for about 2 years. He had just had his first kid, about a 4-month-old daughter. But he was getting stressed out with work, and then he was in a custody battle.
Wow.
And, he's up to his neck in stress. And he was just like, look, I think I'm winning this thing. I got a lot of work to do. That night, he wanted to just do as much work and be as calm as possible so the next day he could pick up his daughter and spend the whole day with his daughter. So in California, this is in LA, Beverly Hills type area, they had some type of app where you could order off of an app, and they had this ring of 25, 35 drivers. And with certain code words, you can order this stuff. And so we don't even know exactly what he got. But of course, he's 2 years sober. All his receptors are fresh. He didn't know what he was getting. And based on the timing of events, pretty much he died within 15 minutes.
Oh, man.
So
Wow.
the benefit is now that looking back at it and going through all the details of the text message and the video cameras, we're actually able to detain those drug dealers. They've actually been in jail for 2 years without bond.
Oh, wow.
And it was
The
such
people
a
that
big
sold
ring.
it to him?
Yeah, they had a huge ring basically running LA, selling hundreds of $100,000 of drugs, and they willingly knew they were selling it knowing that there was fentanyl in it.
Okay, yeah.
So basically, they knew some people were going to die, and they didn't care. So those people are at least off the streets. And you know, part of the reason I like being on shows like this is to kind of spread the word. This is like a real.
It's a real thing, man.
It is.
And I like that because you're saying this. Your brother, he didn't grow up in the streets, and he wasn't out there. He was just a regular guy with a stressful job, a stressful situation with court and his kid, and he needed a way out, and he chose a way that ended his life.
Yep.
Wow, man. I think honestly, people really don't understand that you're literally taking your life. You're playing Russian roulette.
Yeah.
You really
It
are.
happened to anybody. He was a straight A student.
Wow.
You know, living off of Sunset Boulevard.
Wow.
In Hollywood, and you know, just one dose. I mean, people don't know, like the amount that can kill you is equivalent to 2 to 5 grains of salt.
Yeah.
That's it.
My cousin.
No way.
Yeah, my cousin on Thanksgiving Day 2 years ago, she died from fentanyl. She came home and
Whoa.
had took some, you know, the night before, they think, or took some that morning, and then her dad went to wake her up and she was dead.
Man,
Fentanyl.
this is deadly. I mean, this is not like the 90s, man.
No, it is, and it's the you know, that's why, you know, you really gotta be out there voting for your the government, because it's coming through the borders, you know, and things like that, and they're not patrolling the borders as they should.
And we're
be.
still having, from a doctor perspective, they're prescribing so many opioids still.
Yep.
I mean, so what's going on with that? We see this growing epidemic, and they're still prescribing this stuff like the Skittles.
Right. So I think the peak in opioid prescriptions was around 2012, and luckily it's going down. And at the hospital, actually, we have programs to cut down on the amount of opiates we're going to give patients. This is at least at the hospital. But you know, if somebody has cancer pain or chronic pain, at some point they need something stronger than ibuprofen.
Right.
But we are cutting it down by doing what's called like non-opioid pain relief. And we always are going with the pain relievers that are non-opioid first, just for this reason. We don't want to get people addicted to opioids.
Yeah, I mean, I took my mom to the doctor, and he was about to prescribe some. He said, "Boy, I ain't taking that."
Right.
And I said, "You know, you're right, because it would not be a good look to be 76 and strung out on drugs. That's a bad look, and can't really walk. That would not be a good fit." I have another question. True or false? Y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Sex is better when you're high.
Ain't never been high.
False. But I will say, the very first time you take drugs is better than sex.
The very first time you take drug is better than sex?
Yeah, and the reason why people get addicted, because they're chasing that first high, and you will never ever get it.
Help me out with that one, because I don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this is not to, but how can getting high be equivalent to an orgasm?
So, my appendix ruptured. So I was in the hospital, and they gave me Demerol.
Okay.
No joke. When I had it, it was the best feeling I've ever had in my life.
Really?
Yes, hands down.
You
And-
what you do? Like, what?
right? And then, look, I got so addicted to it.
Addicted?
Addicted in the hospital.
Whoa.
That because they gave me a pump.
Wow.
Right. Yep. And I was able to so much so I knew the CCs and everything. So they had to give me placebos and start lying to me to tell me that I was getting something that I wasn't. But seriously, you the first time you take it, you are so it and that's what happened with people on drugs. They try to
Chase that high.
They chase that high, and then you got to take more and more and more and more,
Wow.
and then you end up overdosing.
Wow. And do you have a shutoff? Is there a such thing as I'm high enough right now?
No. You do, but if you addicted to it and you try, you're not thinking wisely about it.
What percentage of arrests now happens with their drugs involved?
So 50% of the calls, at least in the city of Dallas, are going to be some kind of mental health something. Almost
Mental
50.
health?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I would say 30% of those are probably some kind of drug-induced something. So which leads to what's a APOW arrest, which is not like necessarily like a felony charge. You know what I mean? So it's like a mental health hold kind of, and they go and deal with them.
And I think that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's good. What'd you say, Doc?
Oh, I actually didn't know that there's that many
in
people with
Dallas,
mental
yeah.
health in Dallas.
Yeah, in Dallas, yeah.
So there's a theory that police officers, they do like drug busts and raids and stuff like that, all this money and drugs lying around, that is not as foreign as we may think for a police officer to take a little something off the top. Not that in your department, but in other departments, do you see that being an issue as well, that officers are actually kind of in that situation with drugs involved and cash, that all the drugs and cash aren't turned in?
I don't believe that. I think it's an extremely small minority.
Do you feel that people in high stress situations use a drug to taper off the stress? Because I know plenty of officers I know several, I say that do take a little something to take the stress off.
What I've seen with officers is going to be alcohol. Mm-hmm. I know you have a lot of alcoholic officers for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. So they actually just started putting out like a deal about alcohol awareness and how to deal with it, and they sent out an email about with resources and all that kind of stuff. So,
Okay. What is a gateway drug? What is a gateway drug?
So a gateway drug is just something that will lead to something bigger. Like, so if you smoking weed, right, and that don't get you high, somebody might can turn you on to Molly. Then Molly might go to,
The Molly is the pill, right?
Yeah, then that might go to.
What's the purpose of the Molly? The Molly is to do what?
Molly is just a feel good, and mentally it makes you enjoy your evening.
Makes you enjoy your evening.
Allegedly.
I think a lot of people just like that increased sensory experience or something like that.
Now, Molly and sex is supposed to be increased experience, right?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Huh?
That's what I
That's
heard.
word on the street? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Molly increases your sensory, you're just more aware, you feel more.
Touch is more intense.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
party drug.
Party drug.
Yeah, so at raves and stuff like that, you run into a lot of bars.
Even the lights, like that's why they have a lot of lights at the raves. That just the sensation of looking at the lights is almost like a turn on for them.
Are they addictive?
I don't know about Molly, but I believe the environment and just everything. Yeah, I think it is addictive.
So the lifestyle of a lot of, is what I think is, like you said, addictive, Molly's, perks, that type thing.
Perks are addictive.
Perks are addictive.
100%. Yeah.
Really?
Percocets, 1,000%.
And how are people getting them?
Well, I mean, even on Snapchat, people are getting it. I mean,
That's
right
selling.
now, actually the biggest killer of adolescents, 77% is from opioid overdose, and Percocet has opioids in it. So, I mean, that's 77%.
schools,
So
for
if
sure.
anybody watching has kids that are adolescents, if their kids die, 77% chances from something they got off of some Snapchat or something off the street. So, if there's
Are you
money to
seeing
be
more and more
made-
kids with pills? And
So since I work a night shift, but yeah, so we'll hear about it. Like it's in the high schools for sure.
Wow.
Even a
These
small
parents got to start being. These parents
It's a
got to start being
conversation.
nosy, and stop being
Pills
best
look like-
friends. Understand your role is to be a parent, be nosy, they in your house, and you need to, you know, all that. Back in the days, you know, I couldn't close doors in my house.
Sure. Yeah.
You know,
Parenting.
so parenting got to go up because
Parenting and partnering are two different things.
Yeah, for real.
So you guys are trained for certain. This is my last question. That I want to bring Courtney up. You guys are trained to certain identifiers when someone is on drugs, be it pills, high. Tell me, for those watching, parents, spouses, best friends, what might you look for to say that this person is probably on something right now? Give us some things to look for.
You can look at the eyes. With like weed, you may see redness in the eyes. With like a PCP, they're in like a loop. So I may ask you, what's your name? You may answer me, but it may be like 90 seconds later. It's like a loop. You know what I mean?
What's your name?
Yeah, so then you have
Conrad.
Ronnie.
Exactly. So at that point, the officer know you need to get some more help up there because he can beat you up. And so then with anything else, he just kind of skitching, kind of moving, bouncing, can't really stand still. That can be an indicator.
What about these kids that's moving slow? They just move just slow? And I don't know if they've been up all night playing or they just high. Right. They just move slow.
So when some of the kids that come into the facility, you'll notice extreme appetite. Mm-hmm. Their appetite, you know, they'll eat you out of house and a home. They
eating?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Like opioids make you really hungry. And so behavior, you know, very, very short-tempered, sweating a lot, you know.
Sweating?
Clammy skin, yeah. All of
that can happen when they're going through withdrawal. One of the first signs is they start getting sweaty.
Yeah, if the kids are not getting it, because it's expensive. So if the kids ain't getting it, then, you know, like you said, like, you know, they'll go through withdrawals and their attitude, they'll be mad.
So dilated pupils, redness of eyes, sweating, increased appetite, those may be identifiers. So what can a parent do who's trying to be nosy? What's available to test your kid? Because are there drug tests for pills though?
Yeah.
There are drug tests for pills? I didn't know that.
You can go and you can get drug tests at CVS and make them pee in a cup.
Really?
Yeah.
And that stuff is pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, parents and people, hey, make them pee.
Yeah.
I want to look at I want to come from another perspective. So this is Courtney. Courtney is she's a regular on Keep It Goines, and Courtney, we're talking about drugs and kind of the pills and how it impacts families and people going out. When you hear this topic, when you heard we asked you to be able to talk about the drug epidemic and fentanyl and party drugs, what comes to mind when you hear about this topic? And what is that? And you raising a little beautiful girl. What comes to mind when you hear about drugs and stuff like this?
I mean, it's extremely scary. Just the fact that these drugs are on the streets. You know, at one point, it was the Percocets, it was the Xanax or different types of downer pills, and now it's the fentanyl? Fentanyl. Mm-hmm. My question is like how, because this isn't something, I understand they come in patches as well, right?
All types of forms.
Patches?
And I heard you say that it could take, 2 to 3 or 4 to 5 grains of salt for an overdose. Right. So I guess my question is like, how is it, because it's not something that you can just go buy from the pharmacy, right? So how is it like getting out in the streets for it to be mixed in with, a lot of people mix it in with the Xanax, the 4 bars, the Percocets and stuff like that. And when people are addicted to opiates and they're just looking for it because they can't get it from the pharmacy, they go to the streets to get it. And that's typically where people is
tons are made in China commercially. Like it's out in the open, they are making it. And then they ship it to Mexico, gets in the hand of some cartels. They ship it up to the U.S. to make a profit, and Americans are, certain population just eating it up.
And it starts in China?
No.
They're probably one of the biggest manufacturers of anything
wow.
out here. I mean, they're a manufacturing machine over there. So.
And they're literally walking across the border in backpacks with fentanyl.
Yeah.
Wow. And how much is a pill?
Depends. I mean, it just depends on like a Percocet, or a hydrocodone or something like that. They can go from $15 depending on the milligrams. Per pill, yeah.
That's like a rock. Back in the day, a $10 rock. It's like $10 to $15.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, I've been told as well because it's just right now it is an epidemic. There's a lot of celebrities that's being found. Personal. I do know somebody personally that has lost their life because of it as well.
Wow.
So I guess I mean it's extremely scary. Like I said, just knowing that this is out there in the streets. That a lot of young people are being persuade to take it or just selling it and getting a hold to it. I've been told that like there could be, a group of 5 people, and each can get a pill that has the fentanyl in it. Maybe only one of those 5 persons may have an overdose.
Wow.
So is it and just because you're a professional, is it just determining the person's tolerance, whether or not they go into cardiac arrest, or is it just that particular pill that may have had more than 3 or 4 or 5 grains of salt?
It's pretty. It gets a little bit complex. So everybody's going to respond a little bit differently. And for example, somebody that weighs 300 pounds probably can handle a lot more than somebody that's 80. But everybody responds differently to different types of opioids, even, which is why in the pain management world it's so complex because you got to find the right medicine for the right person because genetically their receptors are different. And then if you think about it, just small changes in the concentration from one pill to the other, even if it's in the same batch, it doesn't mean that they're all equal concentrations.
Wow.
We're talking about, just like 1 grain of salt, which is probably equivalent to 200 mics. Probably 1,000 mics will make anybody stop breathing. So that's 5 grains of salt. So, like maybe somebody that's weighing 80 pounds, maybe she just needs 1 grain of salt, right? So that's why it's different. That's why 1 out of 5 might have a bad effect and that somebody else
Is that ratio true? 1 out of 5?
Yeah.
I mean, I just was using a.
I mean, it is. You like you said, he's 1,000% correct. Like I can take more than she probably could because I'm bigger.
But
if I'm doing drugs as well, and then I get fentanyl,
and then they mix it with alcohol, so
yeah, it's a wrap.
That doesn't help.
Synergistic, yeah.
So Courtney, you have nieces and cousins, you have a big family, and so what are they saying? What are the younger people saying? Is it like a normal thing for them to pop pills? Is it like a normal thing? Is it common?
They hear it in rap songs. A lot of young kids are influenced by some of the rappers. They praise taking Percocets or taking, which I don't understand because I've had a surgery before, right, where the doctor has prescribed me pain medicines, and when I've taken them, I was out like a light. Like I took it and I was ready to go to sleep. So I don't understand how people take that and they go out and they party and they club and they praise it or they, praise the sex while they're on it because from experience, I've taken a hydrocodone and I just get sleepy. So I just don't understand how some people praise it like to go out and it's a party drug when it's not.
Is some of it, I think we alluded earlier, it's like the whole vibe in the scene. And I think mentally approaching it, if your mindset, I'm about to go party and pop this pill, I think that in itself sets me up for the experience I want to get. You took your pill because you're trying to go to sleep and get out of some pain. Other people, their objective may be different in taking the drug.
Wow, good point.
Right? And also, Courtney, just from the perspective like a woman, you have friends, family members. We're from Louisiana, so a lot of men with families are in prison because they want to sell the drug or they did some on drugs. Can you speak briefly like what does that do to the woman and the child that you've seen left behind when men are making these decisions that they're losing their freedom? Matter of fact, if you could tell the guys that that guy may be selling drugs or using drugs and he's risking his freedom, what's a message that you can tell him from the woman and the mother that you're giving your freedom away for?
I would say think about your mother or your daughter or your son And would you want somebody to sell them that product? So, you know, and you have to deal with the loss, or knowing that someone didn't care enough to just make money and just, you know, sell it out on the street and not thinking about the consequences of what happened. And I think that's kind of what happened in the beginning when this epidemic first started. I think people didn't realize how serious it was, and they didn't care, and probably still don't care. But then once you have, you know, a family member or someone that you lose or know that you lose to it, then it kind of hits home.
Right.
But I would definitely tell them to think about what you're doing. I mean, it's not worth it. It's not worth just making a buck, and you're actually, you know, we're losing people out here over this epidemic.
And I definitely want to come to Dr. Amir, because what would you, as a grieving brother, with what you and your family went through, you said earlier that you've just here recently have been able to talk about this.
Right.
What would you have to tell the people who are plotting, promoting, singing about it, rapping about it, selling it, this drug culture? What would you like to tell them, having lost a brother?
I mean, they're hurting their own culture. They're hurting families. I mean, you know, we've seen shooting massacres on TV, right?
Wow.
Like today, in Allen, there's 8 people, like a few days ago, got killed. But fentanyl's killing 150 people a day. Actually, since we've been on stage, probably 3 people have died. It's about 1 every 10 minutes.
Whoa.
Right? And we're not seeing it on the news.
Wow.
So this is a bigger killer than people think. It's just kind of get shoved in the corner. So I think people need to be more aware of it. It's way worse than promoting guns or anything like that.
Wow.
So way bigger than people think. It's just people just don't know about it, and you're gonna ruin somebody's life for nothing. A lot of these people are younger people. They have their whole life ahead of them. So it just doesn't make sense, and these people are really doing it just to make a couple bucks. Like, there's a lot of ways to make money. We live in America, and be an entrepreneur, do something. But doing something like this, they don't even understand what they're doing. They just don't care. So
and many would say, well, if I don't sell it to them, someone else will. You know, that's the response. But as I need you, man, if you could, just share with us in brief how it impacted your family to find that news, man. I mean, what that process did to you?
Well, at first I didn't really know if it was true or not, because, you know, I was a little bit in denial at first. I'm like, okay, well, he'll go to the hospital, something will happen. Maybe he just passed out. You know, some people do a lot of drugs, they just pass out for a while and they wake up, and then after a couple hours, they're like, no, he's not coming back. It's pretty much over. So, you know, just all these plans that, you know, I had plans with my brother. We're going to business together, actually. So for the first time ever, we were in the process of that. And we had all these, you know, 5-year, 10-year plans. I mean, they're just gone. And just all the life experiences you could have. And then, you know, him having a daughter there. Now the daughter's growing up without a father. So we're all helping out as a, you know, almost like a village, helping raise her now. So it really changes the dynamics of everything, and not for the better. So.
And it's selfish, man. It's selfish.
Yeah.
It's selfish to have anything to do with someone losing a valuable part of their family. For a little girl, lose her dad, who's not gonna give her away at her wedding, who's not. It's just unfair and selfish, the whole thing, right? And be, you know, just growing up in Compton, and you seeing so many different things, and you've actually been, you know, you know these guys, some of these guys personally.
Yeah.
What would you, hearing his story, and like 3 people have died since we've been on stage, man, what would you tell? And you have a perspective, because when kids and adults come to your facility, sometimes they're out of their minds, they're punching the walls, they're hurting themselves, they're in a very bad place. What would you tell the modern day drug dealer who may not understand? Because some people are just monsters, right, at heart. But many drug dealers aren't. They're just thinking about themselves and like this is business, ain't personal. What could you tell our cousins or our friends? What could you tell them, man, to understand about this, what they're doing? And then what would you tell those who are customers of these people?
Well, I would definitely tell the ones that are, you know, profiting off of somebody else's demise is that it is not a peaceful place to be. I don't care how much money you make, it will always be a reminder. Or God will definitely remind you in your spirit what you're doing and the damage that you're causing to these families. You're taking people out, fathers from their homes, mothers from their homes,
right?
Even children from their parents. And lastly, what I will say to the parents is we have to be parents, and we cannot be afraid of our children.
Yes.
We can't be afraid of being liked. And these parents that I see that come into these facilities, 9 times out of 10, they have tried to be their kids like friends, and they kids end up dying, losing their mind, and it's just, I have seen the worst things happen.
Yeah.
And so continue to pray and just really, really be aware. Get out there, vote, participate, and be in your kids' life, and show them a different way too.
And you said, and there are over-the-counter tests.
Yes, absolutely.
And so would you guys agree that no matter if your kid's a straight A student and the perfect nerd, it still wouldn't help do a random drug test to see what's going on with the kid?
I would. And you can make it and make it fun. Hey, look, you bomb stuff anyways. Hey, look, if I'm a drug test you, if you pass, you know what I mean. I don't know, buy you something. You know what I mean. But make it like that, and then sit down and talk to them. Show them videos. Take them places. Take them to Oak Cliff and these other places, and
pay attention to the behavior.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be able to tell.
You'll know
something
if
different.
A kid is high on something. I don't know any drug that that you can take that you won't be able to tell that somebody's on it. Whether
Parents be in denial though.
Like,
not my kid.
Yeah, there are some, but you just have to. I mean, you have to be. First of all, you have to be open-minded, right? Because if your kid is on a drug, you don't want to beat them up about it. You want to find out what's going on. You know what I mean? You want to talk to them about it, and you want to make them feel comfortable.
Wow.
And that music, man. That music.
Yeah,
music is the only thing that can enter your mind without you having no control over it. That's why some people don't know their ABCs without the song attached to it.
Wow, that's good. That's
so.
good. Everybody, this has been an extremely informative subject matter. It's real, and there are people dying every 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
Every 10 minutes. So if you are a drug user, and maybe you feel like, I use drugs, I pop pills, but it ain't no big thing. I just do it when I want to. Listen, you don't know whether or not you're addicted or not until you try to stop. So as a test run, try to stop for 30 days and discover whether or not you really are addicted or not. And if you are, there are ways to get help. I want to share a couple of resources for you. Anonymous Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services, 1-800-662-4357. Again, that's Anonymous Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services, 1-800-662-4357. Also, Discovery Point Retreat Rehab is located in Dallas, Texas. That's 1-833-321-7533. Again, Discovery Point Retreat Rehab in Dallas, Texas, 833-321-7533. Arise Recovery Center is right here in Arlington, Texas. Arise Recovery Center here in Arlington, 817-968-1950. 817-968-1950. There are resources out there to help you with your issues. A temporary high is not worth an eternal death. And you can get some help today. You do not have to live with this demon of drug addiction. You can get help. I want to thank you, Brandee, man, Dr. Amir, Courtney, of course, for being here and sharing. And guys, until the next time. Oh, where did Randy go? Oh, and Randy's in the audience, our officer. He always comes here to give us the real from like a police perspective. And let's not forget, you're messing with your freedom because you're not a licensed pharmacist. It's against the law. You can kill yourself or be a part of other people dying because you're a part of this, what I'm going to call this, it's about to be like a second death. We saw what this did, especially to the African-American community in the late 80s and 90s. It destroyed a whole community. And now it's not a black, it's not a white thing. It's everywhere now. So I'm encouraging you, if you have an issue, fix that issue, get help, talk to somebody. If you're a parent, pay attention to the signs. If your kid's behavior has changed, err on the side of caution, get them jokers tested, okay? Hey, we love y'all, and as usual, keep it going.
That was good, wasn't it? Now that you know who my man is, go follow Doc on IG at Doc_Goines. I'll see y'all next Tuesday back on the block.